any of the hybrid engines and non-hybrid engines today, we have something called VVT right now, right? Which stands for what? Variable valve timing. If you notice, we got rid of the EGR valve, right? How do we do that? Well, we just close the exhaust valve a little quicker and we leave some exhaust in the cylinder, right? We got EGR. So you don't have to what? Take this yucky stuff and put it what? Back in the intake past the valve, etc., which is pretty stupid, right? Yeah. So it's helped immensely. No more EGR valve. Gotta love it. You know, I mean, the battery pack on this hybrid isn't real big, but it can be used for a while, but it can't be used a long while, okay? So what we'd like to do is build a gas engine that can go ahead and get a lot better fuel economy. Makes sense, right? So how do we do that? Well, it's real simple. We're going to go to something called an Atkinson cycle engine from an Otto cycle engine. An Otto cycle engine is your normal 4-stroke engine. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it into a Atkinson cycle engine. Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and take the intake valve and we're going to leave it open longer. So picture this. Here's the piston all the way up. Intake valve opens, piston starts going down, and it creates a low pressure area, vacuum, and we're now going to allow air and fuel to do what? Yeah. Now what happens? Well, it's filled. Yeah, but we want better fuel economy. So we leave the intake valve open and we do what? Push half of it back out. So where does the half go? Into the intake manifold for the next cylinder to fire. So that cylinder is only running on what? Half its air fuel charge. How's the power? How's the fuel economy? How can we make up for the power? Hybrid electric powertrain. So when we go out of a light, we can make it a what? Atkinson cycle engine, hardly use any fuel. We use the electric motor to get us up to speed. Once we're up to speed, how much engine drag is there? How much does the engine need to work if you're cruising at 55 and there's no hill? Virtually none. So we can run it on what? And use a lot less fuel. Now, you'll notice on these, there's some differences, okay? If you would look at the engine on this, when we take a break, look at this engine. Look at the intake runner. It's kind of big, and it goes to a plenum that's down here. So the intake's got a big log runner on the bottom. Why do you think it'd be on the bottom? Throttle plate's way down here too. It's a storage area for what? Air and fuel, period. If you open the throttle on this after it's run, what are you going to see at the bottom of the intake? Gasoline. There's the top of the air filter housing. It's got an activated charcoal filter on it. If I shut the car off, there's a bunch of gas and air in the intake, where's it going to go? And it does. It rises to what? Gets trapped in this charcoal. So that way when I walk past the car, I don't smell what? Gas. So Atkinson cycle engines generally have some way of trapping what? Hydrocarbon vapors. Now, this is getting so popular, guess what we're doing? We're doing this on non-hybrids. Toyota Tacoma, for instance. It goes ahead and moves the VVT to go ahead and decrease power to save what? Fuel economy and emissions. Atkinson cycle, pretty important. Now, what this does, of course, is this helps smooth out what? Yep, and we can use the electric motor. If we have a little mixture problem here and the engine's going to surge a little bit, what can we do? Electric motor comes in and what? Corrects it. It's cool, okay? So not only do we use the motor to increase the power, but we can use the electric motor to go ahead and make sure this engine runs what? Smooth. Because if you're only burning half the air fuel in a cylinder, how's the engine going to run? Not as good. So we're going to use the electric motor to even smooth it out. So sometimes, you know, you got to remember, if you have a hybrid, if you have a stator rotor coming apart, that's what's got to do with this. It may not be the stator rotor coming apart. It may be what? Maybe a problem in the Atkinson cycle operation here, right? Everybody see the gas? There it is, right? Gas in the bottom of the intake. So if you open the intake, there you go. Now, be very careful. We all know that hybrid engines don't run all the time, right? If you're going to do a carbon clean on it or some kind of clean of the intake, you better make sure you be careful. We got a lot of guys that when they do the clean, the first thing they want to do is make sure they put enough cleaner in there to get through the engine quick so they can move on to what? Next job. What's going to happen if you flow it too quick here? It's going to puddle up on the bottom here. The first time you hang a right turn, Clyde, like a bat turn real quick, all the stuff that's in here is going to go where? All the way to the end. It's going to go to single cylinder. If you have too much liquid in the single cylinder, what happens to the connecting rod? It gets shorter. On a hybrid, when you're searching for a problem with basically the electric motor, you better be cognizant of what? Atkinson cycle, and also what? Is the gas engine contributing to the problem? Because a lot of times we use the electric motor to fix the gas engine's irregularity. If you think you have a brush problem, remember, like I said, you could cause stator, bearing, bushings, etc., whatever kind of damage if you want it. You got to make sure that if it's a hybrid, you got an issue. Now, this one won't be a hybrid because it's a Nissan Leaf, right? But any electric motor can suffer from what? Stray volts getting in there causing bearings to fail. Doesn't matter what kind it is, okay? Anything that's a three-phase motor, and they're all three-phase, can be a problem. Here is a bearing manufacturer, TKF, or SKF, excuse me. They have a situation where they have a tool that lets you measure the amount of stray voltage at the bearing shaft. The tool's got a magnetic pickup on the end. You put this as close to the bearing as you can, and it'll read to you the amount of voltage you have here. If you have one of the scopes that has a noise vibration analyzer, you can put that noise vibration analyzer by the bearing also and look at the actual damage the bearings have. So that's another option. You can't hear it with your ear, but if you have a pickup that goes ahead and does noise vibration, you'll have a situation where what? Hey, it's real simple, right? You can see how bad the bearing's getting. You get noise, and it comes every time that bearing comes up to a certain point, that tells you what? No noise, noise, no noise, noise. When that bearing's getting loaded in its position, it's making noise, so that bearing is what? Scrap. Yep. It's on its way out. You pull it apart, and sure as heck, guess what? Bearing's no good. Okay. So is everybody good there? Cool. Now, let's go ahead and look at something else. Three-phase motors, of course, we know how they work, but we need to know the position. Because everybody knows to get a motor to turn, I need a what? Negative and negative to make them repel, or a positive over here to go ahead and what? Attract it. So we got to move those negatives and positives to keep that thing spinning at a given rate. Pretty simple. So we're going to use this resolver. Resolver is on every single electric three-phase motor, period. So if it's got an electric motor, it's got a resolver. It also has a six-pack. We'll talk about the six-pack in a few minutes. It's not abs. It's a six-pack IGBTs, which we'll get to. So first thing we want to do is talk about this resolver. How does it work? How does it function? Well, real simple. Resolver is basically 6 windings. And what happens is, as the center bearing spins, it moves a washer that's elongated, and that goes ahead and creates a pattern. So some resolvers are adjustable, some are factory preset. Some resolvers basically are pinned, and you can use a scan tool to reset them. If the resolver doesn't work, the motor cannot work, period. Now, what's with the resolver? Real simple. If you take a look at this rotor right over here, here's the rotor. You'll notice that right over here, there's a washer that's part of this rotor. See how it's not round? Can everybody see it? It's kind of got elongations on it. See it? It's got areas that are somewhat flat, somewhat elongated. That is the mechanical part of the resolver. That's fixed. It cannot move. Now, if that resolver is not spinning true, what's going to happen to the resolver? Let's say the bearing's really sloppy. What happens? It moves. That's a problem. Now, resolver is one of the most important pieces on any three-phase motor. This one, you have to disassemble the whole transmission to get to it. It's right there. This has two motors in it, so you have what? How many resolvers? Two. So how's it work? You know what's nice about this? They all work the same. Doesn't matter what kind of vehicle it is. The resolver works the same. Some guy invented it, some electronic guru invented it in his basement. He gets a cut on every single one. So in other words, his basement got really big. So here's what it looks like. All of them are different. Look at the washer on this one. Not only does it have elongated openings, it also has what? Do you think that's going to hold there, going to change the magnetic field? Absolutely. So the idea here is we need to know the position of this at all times. Even sitting what? Still. Because how are we going to know what firing order to fire that electric motor in if we don't know its position? We can't. So if you have no resolver, you got no motor, period. End of discussion. So how's it work? Well, this is interesting. So here's what's going to happen. Through this excitation circuit right here, we're going to send out a signal that's always totally the what? Same, just like a what? Metronome. So if I hook the scope up to this excitation circuit, I should see a circuit that's got what? Exactly what? If it's not the same, I know I got a what? Problem. It's screwed up. It's got to always be what? If you're a drummer and your rock band's no good, Steve, what's going to happen to this tune? Yeah, because there's no what? Consistent rhythm or beat there. So basically the excitation circuit is going to go ahead and give us a circuit that is the same all the time. We're going to then have sine and cosine circuits. If you're into algebra and stuff, you know what that means. If you don't worry about it. Okay? They're going to interact with that round washer, and they're going to change that excitation signal to make it different, depending on what? Position it's in. Good. So even sitting still, I get the excitation, I look at the sine and cosine, I can tell exactly what? Yeah, period. Now, crankshaft position sensor, 58 pulses. So you kind of got an idea where it is. How about 1,040 per revolution? That's what this thing can give you if you put some math to it. So we know precisely where what? Each motor is. Now, can we use one of these for both motors? Why not? They're different positions, exactly. But every motor has to what? Have one. If it doesn't have one, can't work, period. So, how's it look? Well, let's show you what it looks like. If you notice, it doesn't change what? An iota. It's always totally what? The same, uniform. And if you notice, here's the zero line. It's basically, in this case, let's call it 4.36 volts above and so many volts what? Below. Never, ever changes, period. So the computer sends that signal out, so the resolver has a clock. It's got a beat. Then whatever position it's in, if you notice, if I'm in this position right here, we go down. This first one is going to be where? Right here, voltage-wise. Second one's where? Real high and going down. So from these three, the computer can tell exactly where that is, 1,040 positions or so per rotation. Very accurate. Then what it does is hits the stator in the firing order. When it hits it in a firing order, what's it know? Movement. Because as soon as we move where? If we're rotating that motor this way, what's going to happen? Here's the different signals we're going to see on sine and cosine. What's the excitement circuit going to do? Exactly what? the same. So the computer's going to monitor this to make sure it's the same. It's going to monitor this and this to see what the difference is. That's going to tell it at the exact position, period. If you lose the excitation, what are you also going to lose? You got to, because this is made off of this. So what we need to do here, though, being it's automotive, and remember, we can't just run it at a constant RPM. We have to run it from 0 to what? 20,000 plus maybe. So not only do we need to know from resolver the position, but we need to know which what? Which direction it's going. We want to do reverse. Guess what we have to do the firing order? Fire it backwards. To run it what? Backwards. Okay? To run it forward, we need to fire it the opposite direction. And we need to fire, we've got 3 coils. We can call them ABC, we can call them X, Y, W, whatever. We need to fire them in a certain order because we need to get those electrons to being basically positive magnet, negative magnet, north or south, basically in the right position at the right time. Otherwise, that motor can't spin. If the throttle is really fast, we might want to take that firing order and do what? Spin it fast. If we want to go slow, not much throttle, what do? Okay? Now, we mentioned that there was a 6-pack. The 6-pack is something we call IGBTs. And it's a super duty transistor. And a transistor is nothing but a switch, like a relay. We use a very small computer signal to turn on our big what? Voltage feed. Okay? High amperage, high volts. That's all an IGBT is. We'll talk about it. Now, we have to have at least 2 IGBTs on to make a motor spin. Why? Well, think about it. I'm going to put voltage in, and I need on one of these other 2 to get voltage what? Out. So 2 of them have to come on. The next firing, maybe it's the same one here and this one over here. Next time it's maybe this one and this one and that one, whatever. It's going to change its firing order. It's a firing order just like a small block Chevy. Computer picks it though. And how fast it moves the firing order depends on how fast you want to move the what? Motor.